Hi everyone, so I decided to talk a little bit about the Matrix and about how I view it, how I came to kind of cope with it, and maybe some advice how to overcome it during incarnation and after incarnation. Because the Matrix continues and it stretches into the astral. Since my mid-20s, I started to more consciously realize that we live in a reality that is sort of a simulation or a copy of the original world, or as I call it, the prime reality. And I never really identified with it that much. And I was always more like in that other world. And as I started to read and get to know more about the Matrix and also the Gnostic belief of the world being really like a copy of a more perfect world, a more benevolent world. But today I would like to get a little bit into what I consider the Matrix to be, a little bit into mythology, and then into some kind of a curious, I guess, unusual topic of comparing the Matrix guardians or threshold guardians to narcissistic personality disorder. But I will get back to that. The Matrix, or this reality, is like a place of deception, a place in which the consciousness was locked. The consciousness in the Matrix was supposed to experience like a limited time incarnations, but started to experience amnesia upon being born into this world. So we stopped remembering where we came from and why, and where we would go later after we end this incarnation, which wasn't initially the case. Initially we incarnated consciously and we died consciously, and we still do in that parallel timeline, the original timeline. But certain beings, and it's usually the beings that don't even consider or think about the Matrix, or that there would be something else than what they believe. It's very much about the belief system with the Matrix. So if they believe and they have some belief systems, strong belief systems, and they believe there's no other option, I guess that's the souls that are meant to kind of remain and continue experiencing the Matrix. And I believe that the souls that are here as visitors, let's say, or they decide, then to stop visiting because it's too tough, too low vibrational, then this want and this desire just naturally means that you are not like trapped here, that your spirit is a visiting spirit, so it just like comes and goes at will, usually from some parallel high vibrational reality or planet or realm. And as I study a lot the Norse mythology, for quite some time I had the feeling that the Ragnarok, which is described in the Poetic Edda, that it has to do with how the Matrix kind of began here on Earth. It's like the end of the gods or the divinity among men, like men having the divine abilities and living kind of with the creators of the realities. And then something happened and this old system fell, and the world was kind of the world was encircled by Jormungandr, the wolf serpent. It translates as wolf serpent. So there's some symbolism of the wolf and the serpent. And this was caused by the god Loki, now popularized by many movies. But he was originally like the villain. He was the villain that started this new system, and Jormungandr was his son. It's interesting to me also that Loki, it means to lock or to enclose something. And I've always found it so symbolic. It's like he locked the new reality, or he locked the world in his new reality. It was like the end of something old and the beginning of something new. And it seems as not as harmonious. Of course, he was revenging to the gods that were supposedly like really cruel to him. So it had some purpose. But there's this sense of being locked. I started to think about this also when I read new books by David Icke, and I've been going back to reading Helena Blavatsky and her idea her ideas about the astral, her experiences with the astral, that there's this kind of a ring past knot, or this like sphere beyond which is hard to get in the afterlife. And it seems like the astral is a part of the matrix, because I went back to study what the astral really is, because each person views it a bit differently. And in the spiritual community, some describe the astral as something that the soul only goes through in order to achieve like the greater states of consciousness. And in other opinions, the astral is kind of like all the heavens, all the dimensions. So it's very much about like which belief system you put to the word astral. But as I'm a curious spirit and I like to study things to get to the bottom of things, like how things came to be, I started to study like what the astral really is and how it came to be. And originally, astrum means star, so it's just the cosmos, or the space, the place of stars. And that's how astral or astrum used to be viewed. But then during the teachings of the Theosophic Society, and Helena Blavatsky came with this, that the astral is like this in-between place. So it's the place where the soul goes to and experiences some things before it like goes into the greater states of consciousness. And the astral body was viewed as something non-permanent, just as the physical body. So it was like after the physical body dies, then the astral body dies, and then like the consciousness is in that ideal state of being. So I just started to wonder why why nowadays there are kind of not so many alternatives to the astral travel or astral projection. Why is it all about the astral if it's just the in-between? It almost seems like it's been put there like to, you know, make us get somewhere, but not far enough for us to be completely free in the spiritual or in the esoteric, in the New Age community. The astral, because I practice inner journeying, I always felt like astral projection, astral travel wasn't for me. I wasn't sure why until I started to develop my own inner journeying method. And I tried to go to the astral and also to the fourth dimension. I had similar experience that always when I went to the astral, or when I had the intention to travel to the astral, to the fourth dimension, something pulled me back, that I'm supposed to go through some other place, or not through there. And then I later realized why, because from that parallel earth that many of us incarnate from, we have a different in between, let's say, or maybe it's not even needed there, because we incarnate consciously into the 3D from the expanded consciousness. So the 4D and 5D is totally free for us and to incarnate into the 3D experience, into the story. It's kind of like, I view it, it's like if you go to play a computer game and you know that it's just a computer game and you can get back to your real reality anytime you like. But here in the Matrix, it's kind of like you're in the game, you forget you are in the game, and you feel kind of trapped in the game because you don't know why you're here and where you will go after it's over, after the game is over. So it's a very tough kind of incarnation process. And from what I learned during reading Barbara Ann Brennan's books about her experiences with the astral, I started to realize that the astral is really very much about the belief system, and that it works with the 4D and 5D, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, partly fifth dimension, because it's a place where, based on our belief and also very much based on our emotions, we go to where we believe we are meant to go. So there are different realms, different heavens, different hells, and based on our vibration and belief system, we go to the place that fits that vibration and belief system. And we can even create our own heavens or our own hells based on that belief system. But when we get to our true selves, beyond the Matrix and beyond the Matrix 4D and partly 5D, we come to realize that we can create our own worlds that are not dependent on any belief system or on the emotions. That it's just a pure joy of creating our own worlds. And that, for me, is where the free afterlife starts, or where it begins. So I guess the astral is a more complicated topic. Maybe I will get back to that later. But now to the Matrix and to how I came to realize certain things about the entities that are kind of dependent or that run the Matrix. Throughout my life, I had experience with various beings, high vibrational and low vibrational. The low vibrational, like the kind of parasitic ones, have a sort of a demonic quality. And I think that's just like, you just don't want to mess with that. You just send that away. You don't want to deal with that. But then there are these entities that created, or the beings that created the Matrix and that preserve it, kind of the Matrix guardians and threshold guardians, which we kind of have to deal with in our everyday life. There's kind of no escape because we are in their world. And I realized during the past 2-3 years, I've been researching more about the personality disorders, such as narcissism. And I realized, wow, there are some similarities to these creators or the threshold guardians and the narcissistic personality disorder. The gaslighting tactic that they use is the key, because it makes you believe that what they tell you is the reality and what you are experiencing, feeling, is not reality, or is not real, or is not valid. And it seems like the Matrix is trying to gaslight us into believing that this is the only reality, this is the only truth, and what we are feeling is not as important or not valid. It's basically trying to make us believe it's the only world. Just like the narcissistic people, they want to kind of take over the people that they live with, and they try to manipulate them, gaslight them, lie to them, make them kind of theirs in their kingdom, so they cannot exist past that. And they make them believe that they are kind of there just for them. And the victim of the narcissistic abuse starts to experience this Stockholm syndrome, And as I compared it, and this was personal for me because someone close to me has this disorder, and I realized that kind of it's set for life. I cannot escape it, similar to the Matrix. I'm born here in the Matrix, so I have to kind of learn to deal with the Matrix and its guardians, its keepers. Just like I have to deal with a very beloved person having this disorder. So as I was trying to learn how to deal with the narcissistic personality, I started to see this parallel of the Matrix and the Matrix guardians. And I started to compare it, and I realized that what the experts are advising us about how to deal with the narcissistic abuse, how to heal from it, might be a wonderful inspiration for how to deal with the Stockholm Syndrome we are experiencing while being incarnated here, and how to heal from it and how to go on from there. And so I started to compare these, and as they, advise that, of course, avoid the person if you can. If you cannot, if they are really dear, or if they are actually trying to change and they are trying to have their narcissism kind of under control, then there are certain ways to heal or to deal with it. And one of it is, of course, to get back your confidence, which is similar to the Matrix, get back the belief or the trust in oneself. And that everything you were told by the narcissist that you are not, you actually are. And that you have the ability to exist beyond their world, beyond their control system. That you can create your own world, which is the fifth dimensional ability. You don't have to live in their world. You don't have to live in their reality. And also the work with the inner child is helpful, it seems. To go back to that joy, to that feeling of connection with one's joy, and do what you want to do as opposed to what you think you should be doing. Also do things for yourself and learn to appreciate yourself and appreciate your talents, your abilities, and to realize that you are free. You are your own world. You don't have to live somebody else's world. And I suppose that once you have this strong sense of security in yourself, and you start to not believe or trust that there is something beyond the Matrix, but you start to really know there is, and you get to know yourself beyond the Matrix in all the other parallel realms, or the expanded consciousness that you have, your multidimensionality, then you begin to see that you really have always been free. That it's just an illusion, that you aren't, that you are here in the world and then you will be in some afterlife that you maybe have been reading about or thought about, that there's nothing free about it, that there's always some confrontation with the judges and with this kind of, again, narcissistic beings that will judge you or try to trap you or try to manipulate you into something. Once you get in tune with that multidimensionality, with your source, and through that source with your expanded awareness and the sovereignty of that, the sovereign power and divine quality, and the real confidence, the confidence that is grounded in knowing who you are beyond the Matrix, then I suppose that's the way out. For some of us it's hard, just like it's hard to acknowledge that you have been maybe unwillingly a victim of someone. But then to realize that you no longer are the victim and that you can move past that because you have learned and healed from it. So that's just something new that I'm exploring and writing about recently, and I thought of just putting it into this short video